And welcome back to Beyond Sunday. I am Stephen Thompson. This is our first guest, Eduardo Cruz. He is a teenager in our Life Team program here at St. Mary's, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself. And we're just going to have a conversation to allow you to listen to, eavesdrop on, to let you know about one of your favorite altar servers. You're the favorite. One of our favorite altar servers here at St. Mary's Parish, and to hear what is happening outside of the Sunday liturgy and happening in the lives of some of our parishioners and one of our younger parishioners. And so, Eddie, why don't you just quickly let me know again if you're a freshman or you're a senior, one of the two. Oh, you're a sophomore. Good. And so, just tell me a little bit about, this about your sermon, high school, sophomore, what else?
I mean, obviously school is really hard right now, but a little bit about myself. I am an altar server. I'm a devout follower of Christ. I try to be.
Okay.
And I love being around the church.
Okay. So I've seen Sundays, you're not just at the one mass that you're scheduled to serve at, but a lot of times you're at 2-3 masses on the weekend or popping in at the end of that. Where did that come from in your life?
Well, it first started whenever Father Martin would ask me, hey, come serve at the 12:30. We're not going to have altar servers at the 4:30. And then eventually it just got into a habit, and he's telling me at the 4:30 masses, I can't give you the Eucharist because you've already had it twice.
Uh-huh. So on a particular Sunday, you really only receive Eucharist no more than 2 times, and because you served like multiple masses in a weekend. Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell me about, I guess if you're a high school student, you're a sophomore this year, okay, and then you'll be served for several years now, apparently. What in your family upbringing or whatever got you to the point of even altar serving, or your involvement in the church, because you have several siblings, right? You're the oldest of how many?
Oh, I think it's 6.
You think it's 6. You don't go to your house, you don't count 1, 2, 3. So you're the oldest of 6 children, mm-hmm. And y'all just live a couple blocks from the church here. Mm-hmm. And so tell me about that. How'd that come about, and upbringing and your involvement here at St. Mary's Parish?
Well, I grew up and I was born, thankfully, into a Catholic family. Mm-hmm. And so in my 4th grade year, I had told my mom I want to be an altar server because seeing other kids altar serving, it really attracted me. And then it wasn't until maybe a year or 2 ago that I was really I fell in love with altar serving. I had broken my hand maybe 2 years ago, and Father Martin still wanted me to serve, and I told him I can't do it, but that was just simply because I didn't want to serve. But eventually, and I hope to start this now, to come to every Mass, even on Saturdays.
Okay. But what about your parents? What about, did they help encourage you in this and altar serving, or maybe did you go to the faith formation classes and all that? What was that situation?
Yeah, so faith formation, it definitely helped me get closer to Christ.
Okay.
But my dad, he was in Mexico for 3 years, and he had gone there to get his papers fixed. And during that time, he got really close to Christ.
Okay.
And when I would go visit him, I would go to church with him. It was a daily thing. And that's when he started studying a lot about church law, and he read the Bible 3 times, all through from the beginning to the end. And that inspired me, just seeing how my dad, he was a devout Catholic. Although maybe they don't go to church a lot anymore, I hope to bring them back.
Okay. Wow, good. And I do see that oftentimes that as our teenagers go through a deeper experience and conversion to the Lord, that the parents begin to notice, hey, there's something about this kid, and he's having an experience, and what is he experiencing? It's a deeper curiosity, and that's where I think a point of most discipleship or in evangelization to new disciples happens with a peak of curiosity. And something that's beautiful that's happening in our Life Team program is you are one of, I would say, several young men who are on just, it seems like a crazy spiritual journey at the moment, and you have attended the DCYC retreat recently, and then immediately the next weekend you came and you helped out on the confirmation retreat as a teenage helper for the younger students who are just a couple years younger than you. But just briefly spend some time telling me about your experience at DCYC, and then also with the confirmation retreat?
So the confirmation retreat, at first it started because 2 years ago, I had my confirmation, and I loved that experience. And the next year I wanted to come back, but then I guess I was denied. They said that I wasn't like a leader.
Yeah, we in just transparency for all of our viewers and everything, then that if we want to have someone in high school come back and help out with our 8th graders, we want more of an age gap than just 1 year, generally 2, sometimes we like 3, just so that there's not such a closeness in the ages for that there's a bigger bit of a gap there. But now as a sophomore, and you're just, I tell you the truth, Eddie, the way that you have just been coming to Mass so frequently, in Life Teen frequently, and then the deeper devotions that we can talk about later that you've adopted, yes, have no qualms about you coming along and just being that example to our other students. And so why don't you just go ahead and continue to tell me about the confirmation retreat and then also your DCYC experience.
Yeah, so that's actually what brought me to youth group. Whenever they denied me because they said I'm not a leader. And
okay.
So that's when I started going
Got
to
a little
youth group.
challenge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I probably wouldn't have gone to Steubenville or DCYC if I wasn't involved with the youth group. And I'm glad I am, because after I came, even just maybe my first experience, I heard about the retreat, about Steubenville. And I mean, just hearing like the experiences of others, it sounded like a good retreat.
Okay, so yeah, you know, and I've noticed that, and I know you're coming out of your 8th grade year. I was hearing lots of things about this young man who altar serves all the time, and he may have a vocation. You know, they say about all those people who like to altar serve, he might have a vocation, which you might. Keep praying about it. And I hear about Eddie, and then I was like, well, where's he at on Sunday night? You know what I mean? And so over the last year, since about that time, yeah, I have seen you so much, and it's good to hear what that catalyst was. It sounded like you got a little bit of a challenge, and then you stepped up to the challenge. You know, we have Steubenville retreat coming up in a couple of months, and we are almost already sold out. And we may have to go buy more spots, which means get another bus to take more students, because we're at like 35 students already, which is amazing because we've never even taken that many students. Quickly just tell me, I guess, about the Steubenville experience from last year, and maybe anything about DCYC, and just what these retreats are happening for you and other people.
Yeah, so this is a way how our youth group has grown. Especially me and Christian, we've told everybody, both Christians, we've given our own testimony about Steubenville. Last year, I think it was a week right after Steubenville, I had gone up in front of the church, and I got a little emotional. And then also, maybe, 4 months ago in November, during our parish mission with Deacon Ralph.
And did you go to all of the nights of that, or?
Yes, I did.
Okay, nice.
Yes, and he asked me, what have you experienced? And I told him I felt the Holy Spirit go through my feet, and it just extended into my entire body. And I've never felt that happy. And I guess I want to get back to that, because I have been going through a lot. And sometimes I think about I'm not good enough for Jesus. But then I remember he's our Father, and he gives forgiveness. That's why he died on the cross for us. Yeah, and so I definitely recommend y'all should come to Steubenville. It was my favorite experience. That's when I first felt the Holy Spirit inside of me.
Yeah, so just for our viewers who don't know the Steubenville Conference, and maybe give you a little bit of history on the Steubenville conferences, it's Steubenville, Ohio, is a diocese in a town in Ohio where Franciscan University of Steubenville is, and almost 40 years ago, they began having these summer conferences for young people. And that was on main campus of the school, because the college is happening in the fall and the spring, but in the summer there's nothing really happening. And so they figured, well, if we brought all these young people here, they can sleep in the dorms, they can have this big convention happening. And after several successful years of that, they said, well, this doesn't just need to happen here in Ohio, let's do another one somewhere around the country. And then Steubenville South in Alexandria, Louisiana was the next retreat. They called it Steubenville South, because Ohio's up in the north. And from there, now I think there's 26 Steubenville conferences that happen every summer. And it was maybe a decade now that the Steubenville Lone Star has been happening in Irving. First it was downtown Dallas in the very first year, and I'm not kidding. So whenever this, a few months before it was announced that we were going to have Steubenville Lone Star, I was in Phoenix at the Life Team headquarters, and we were talking about having a conference in Texas. And they were basically inked. I think the deal was going to be in San Antonio or Houston. And something happened, and we happened to be there with the, as representatives of the diocese, and like, well, why not Dallas? And this conversation happened, and it happened really fast, and boom, got approved. And we got word it's going to happen in Dallas. I knew before everybody else knew it was going to happen in Dallas. And the release date, I go on, they release it at 8 o'clock to sign up, and I don't go until noon, and it was sold out. They sold out the 2,500 seats in 4 hours. It was like a Taylor Swift concert or something. It was like sold out so fast that my group didn't even get in. And I knew about it before. And so there was a big hunger and thirst. But the place where they had it in downtown Dallas, it wasn't big enough then for us to be bigger. So then ever since then it's been in Irving. And now Steubenville Lone Star is the largest Steubenville conference in the United States. I think we had almost 4,000 students there last year. And like I said, this year we're 3 months out, and we already have 35 of our teenagers signed up. But basically, it's just an encounter. It's something that's built for teenagers in a giant community where we have very good speakers and presenters and great musicians. But you ask about the teens almost always, and you can testify to it, that whenever you ask them, what was your experience, they always talk about adoration, and they talk about confession. And those are things that I think are opportunities that we have as our faith, and here particularly at St. Mary's, where you have a chance to go adoration whenever you want, and we have multiple chances to go to confession when you need it. And this is the cycle of a disciple, is continuing to be in relationship and in right relationship with the Lord, and you've chosen to do that. And I think that something that's helped, it seems, at least with you doing that, is that you've had a community to do that with. So just spend, if you would, a few minutes talking to me about your the community experience that you've had with the Life Team group on Sunday nights, and then in particular that group of young men that you're kind of doing stuff, you're doing life with.
Yeah, so I really love our Life Team group. I mean, it's grown a lot. The first time I came, maybe there was like 6 kids. But now we have, sometimes like we have to pull up chairs because everyone wants to sit at one table. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of grown into, there's a girls side and a boys side, and like a rivalry.
Yeah, y'all do that. Y'all come in, the girls sit over here. Like last night I think we had 10 girls and 12 boys or something like that. And y'all separated, and then we had a little bit of a battle with our game. But yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, so our community, especially when we go to retreats like this, I really enjoy being with them, because if I was alone there, I wouldn't experience it as much, especially at DCYC this past year, when we got the opportunity to pray for those and pray for our community. That really moved me, and it made me feel like really close to the Lord, because I was able to pray over somebody, and I feel like that gave them comfort over the things that they had gone through. And then people started praying for me, and I felt more comfortable.
What is your experience of what a typical Sunday night? So let's say there's a teenager or a parent who's watching, they have a teenager in high school, and just from your perspective, they could hear from me whenever they want. What does a Sunday night look like after the 4:30 Mass when we meet? What is that? How would you describe it to somebody, or what would you talk about that we do?
So it seems like you never run out of ideas for the things that we do. Last week we had a game night, right? Last week we
Trivia
had a game night.
Yeah.
That was really fun. I messed up my shoes though, but we got some new ones. And it's really like the activities that I like doing.
Okay.
Whenever, well, obviously, I guess in the spectrum of education, it's called technology and theory. And we really mix both of those together. So it's learning about like curriculum, like the canon law, and you taught us how to do Lectio Divina, and I've taken that in myself, and I've started implementing it in my day.
Beautiful.
Bible study. Yeah, that's really like a fun part about it, but also the games we can play, like with our groups, and like you said yesterday, we had a rivalry going between the girls and the boys.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
So generally, the way a night would flow is we have some type of what I call a gather activity, where in the game or some kind of activity where we get together, we eat. Which, did you eat my food last
Amazing
time?
food.
Thank
amazing.
you.
Oh, I did not eat the chili. I did not eat the chili.
I don't know what is wrong with you. It was delicious. But we generally have some kind of food and some type of activity game. And then the next phase of the night is what we'd call proclaim, where I or someone would get up and give a sometimes shorter, but not so much short, little brief teaching on whatever the topic is for the night. And then we have a break, which we would do small groups. And then we have a send, which is a send, S-E-N-D, which is our prayer experience, and then send out, to be sent. And yesterday we did that, and we prayed the Stations of the Cross and went through the church and the Stations of the Cross, and then we came back and did our small group and kind of talked about that. And so I guess what is the small group aspect of it when we do meet in small groups? What do you find is good or helpful with that?
Well, I've noticed that the other Stephen, I've called him like more of a brother than a youth director, because I feel like he connects more on our level.
Okay.
He's more of like a friend, like a bro, I guess they would say. Yeah. And he really connects with us.
He's like literally like a bro for me, because he's my brother-in-law. Well, that's great. All right.
Yeah, he teaches like really well. And yesterday, when we were doing, I guess, our sort of like what we felt through those stations of the cross, he really connected with the answers that we had. And whenever you came in and you said, let's find a stopping point, I did not want to stop.
Oh, good.
I did not want to stop.
Yeah.
That's how fun it is in the small groups.
Good. It's nice to have that community and to really hear from other members in our community, teenagers. In this situation, you had a group of other guys, and just hear, hey, maybe I'm not alone, or I felt that too, or maybe I can pray with you about this. The podcast is called Beyond Sunday. And so if you would, just quickly, as we end this time together, and thanks for your time, why don't you just share with me some of the things that you're doing, or the way the Lord's working in you and revealing some things to you that you're doing beyond Sunday, not just in the liturgy of the Mass and attending Mass, which you go to several times a weekend, but what's happening in your life with the Lord beyond Sunday?
So I've started a strict schedule, and I'm doing liturgy of the hours now.
Yeah.
And it's really hard, because there's one thing that I saw, and what I want to do is, and it might seem weird to do this, but wake up at 3 a.m, pray the office of readings, from 4 to 6, Bible study, from 6 to 7, more prayer in the morning prayer, and then it's just throughout the day. At school, I pray the daytime prayers, and then at night, and then at 7.
Do you have the app on your phone?
Yes,
iBreviary on your phone. It's super, it may be difficult to get into, but like once you go, it just lays it out for you on the day, and it's praying the Psalms and the liturgy of the hours. That's beautiful. So throughout the day, you're doing the daytime prayers, and then what? And
then at 7, and this would almost speak about my testimony in conferences. At 7, I watch a parish mission from a different parish, or a conference from a different retreat.
Wow.
Because I love the message that sends out, and I can learn from that. And
since I don't know if you've been in this a week or 2 weeks or whatever, or a month or whatever, but what have you noticed or seen anything different in your life since implementing? That's a pretty rigid schedule.